Welcome to Twisted Threes. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss the next Twisted Stories. To support the channel, you can visit us at twistedthrees.com. Now let's see how twisted the world is today. The disappearance of Dennis Martin. 6-year-old Dennis Martin went camping with older family members on June 13, 1969. He was last seen preparing to spring a surprise on his father and grandfather alongside his brother and other children. The Martin family, from Knoxville, had a long-established tradition of the male members of the family taking a camping trip to the nearby Great Smoky Mountains National Park to celebrate Father's Day. Dennis traveled to the park for his first camping trip alongside his father, grandfather, and older brother, initially arriving at Cades Cove. The group then hiked to Russell Field, where they camped overnight. The following morning, they set off for Spence Field, a highland meadow and popular camping spot bisected by the famous Appalachian Trail. Dennis Martin set off on the hike wearing a red t-shirt. It was the 6-year-old's first overnight camping trip. The youngest in his family, Dennis must have been excited to go on the annual Father's Day hike in the Smoky Mountains. The boys snuck off to pull a prank on the parents as the adults gazed at the scenic mountain laurel. But it did not go as planned. During the prank, the older boys jumped out, laughing. But Dennis was no longer with them. As the minutes ticked by, William knew something was wrong. He began calling for Dennis, confident the boy would respond. But there was no answer. The adults quickly searched the nearby forest, hiking up and down several trails looking for Dennis. William covered miles of trails, frantically calling for Dennis. Without radios or any way to communicate with the outside world, the Martins came up with a plan. Clyde, Dennis's grandfather, would hike 9 miles to the Cades Cove Ranger Station for help. When night fell, a thunderstorm moved in. In a matter of hours, the storm dropped 3 inches of rain on the Smoky Mountains, washing out trails and leaving behind no evidence of Dennis Martin, whose footprints would have been swept away by the deluge. At 5 a.m. on June 15, 1969, the search for Dennis Martin commenced. The National Park Service put together a crew of 30. The search party quickly swelled to 240 people as volunteers poured in. William Martin spoke with park rangers about where he last saw his son, Dennis. The search party soon included park rangers, college students, firefighters, Boy Scouts, police, and 60 Green Berets. Without clear directions or an organizational plan, the searchers crossed the national park looking for evidence. And the search continued day after day, with no sight of Dennis Martin. Helicopters and planes took to the air to search a growing patch of the national park. On June 20th, Dennis's 7th birthday, nearly 800 people participated in the search. They included members of the Air National Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, and the National Park Service. The next day, the search efforts peaked at an astonishing 1,400 searchers. A week into the search, the National Park Service put together a plan for what to do if they recovered Dennis's body. And yet over 13,000 hours of searching yielded nothing. Unfortunately, the volunteers may have accidentally destroyed clues about what happened to Dennis Martin. As the days flew past, it became clearer that the boy would not be found alive. The search and rescue effort gradually lost steam with no sight of Dennis Martin. The Martin family offered a reward of $5,000 for information. In response, they received a flood of calls from psychics claiming to know what happened to their son. Although the search party for Dennis Martin quickly grew to include upwards of 1,400 people, including U.S. Army Green Berets, no trace of him was ever found. More than half a century later, no one knows what happened to Dennis Martin the day he went missing in the Smoky Mountains. The most plausible theories range from abduction to having died of exposure, eaten by a bear or feral pigs in the park. Martin's father, however, believes that his son was taken by another person. This theory appears to be based largely on the eyewitness account of Harold Key, a visitor to the park that reported hearing a loud scream on the afternoon Martin disappeared. Shortly after, he claims to have seen a disheveled man, covered in hair and attempting to remain unseen, fleeing through the woods. Key's family elaborated that the figure had a red object slung over his shoulder, matching the clothing Martin was wearing. Others believe it was Sasquatch that took young Dennis. The 6-year-old may have wandered off and found himself lost in the woods. The terrain, marked with steep ravines, may have hidden Martin's body. Or wildlife might have attacked the child. Years after Dennis disappeared, a ginseng hunter found a child's skeleton about 3 miles downhill from where Dennis went missing. The man waited to report the skeleton since he'd illegally taken ginseng from the national park. But in 1985, the ginseng hunter contacted a Park Service ranger. The ranger put together a group of 30 seasoned rescuers. But they could not find the skeleton. The mystery of Dennis Martin's disappearance will likely never be solved, despite the massive effort to find the missing boy. Dennis Martin is only one of the thousands of missing children in our national parks. Let me know what you think happened to Dennis Martin.